Contradiction number 25. Academia equals less knowledge. Academia is one of the celebrated pillars of any civilization, and in the Western world it reaches its zenith for two reasons. First, much of Western influence in the world, cultural, economic, military even, owes its success to the ideas it produced. Whether it was the conceptualization of democracy in ancient Greece, or the literature of Shakespeare and Dante, to the socio-political impact of the ideas of thinkers like Niccolo Machiavelli and John Stuart Mill, to the science of Da Vinci, Newton and Einstein, the economics of Adam Smith, Karl Marx, Maynard Keynes, to its spiritual leaders like Jesus and more recently, Martin Luther King, and the list could go on. All the science and innovation, ideas of liberty and governance, morality, poetry and the arts are what make the West what it is. Secondly, and this is for me most important, the West honors its thinkers, even more than it does its military and political heroes. We are still defined by their ideas than the primitive loyalties to race or country. I find it so profound teaching undergraduate ethics in philosophy and opening a book on Aristotle as part of the syllabus. More than 2,000 years later, his definition of what is right and wrong are as applicable and relevant to the ideas of John Stuart Mill and Immanuel Kant over a century or two ago. However, as the economic model of growth, i.e. capitalism, has been advanced, its influence has affected almost every institution, and even those that have nothing to do with profit. I stand by an ageless maxim, here rephrased, that knowledge for its own sake is always worth having, regardless of its effect. Why? It is in our nature to seek knowledge, and in seeking it, we touch something of our souls. The search for knowledge is the limited, mortal human being's quest for what is beyond itself. It is one of these things that reveal something about us that is not bound by nature itself. As Socrates put it, given the choice of whether to be a swine and happy, and a thinking human being who is miserable, we would choose the latter because of knowledge. Yes, we, or at least many, value knowledge and truth over happiness itself. All the great pioneers and martyrs in history testify to this, and that is why they inspire us in such a way. Academia was always meant to be this platform, but alas, no more. This great institution is now subsumed by the need to make a living. We go to university to gain knowledge so that we can make life work in a practical sense. Of course, there's no problem here. We must all make a living. My problem is that we call it academia. I have already explained in an earlier contradiction how education no longer serves the purpose of knowledge. The quality of education has declined over the last century. The main problem is that academia today is that we now have to pay heavily for it. A university degree becomes one of the best ways of securing a good career. Now that's almost all it is perceived to be. Universities, at least in the West generally, have now adapted. They are now measured by impact in industry and similar metrics. The only thing industry seems to be creating are ways to make us think less and less. The cognitive conditioning of social media, the definitions of happiness and good, and beauty portrayed in, entertainment and everything. Academia can't wait to replicate the commercial success of new technologies. Impact, impact, impact. Now, it's got to the point where actual knowledge is compromised, and the whole education system supports this. Out goes logic, out goes grammar, and even as early as primary school, and in comes computer technology studies. Then comes university. The value of degrees was not, like in ages past, dictated by the dictated by the market, by market forces. But now it is. A university will now cut every corner to remain competitive. I've seen it myself. I've worked in universities. They will force academic and administrative staff to do double the work that their role requires them, with no increase in pay. They will hire excellent researchers because it builds their impact, even if these researchers are, well, appalling teachers. They will get auxiliary staff, even postgraduate students, to teach and mark undergraduate assignments, even though it is the senior academic staff that are used to market the university to prospective students. They will stop providing course material for students and get them to purchase their own material. They will cut heating and food and even room provisions and accommodation, even in the winter. All this while tuition and accommodation fees has done nothing but rise. And the university spends more on marketing, new buildings, and the extortionate salaries of vice-chancellors. And while the burden of debt on the student increases for a generation that is already doomed to be poorer than its predecessors, this is what academia does. Knowledge for its own sake is no longer the aim of the game. Being competitive is. Competitive at all costs. A time will come when universities will have as much integrity as fast food chains.